Hey everyone, Brian here, back again. It's been a while. This time I am looking at GamePro issue number 72 from July 1995. So here at the cover you can see Judge Dredd to coincide with the Sylvester Stallone movie. You can see here he is the law. His catchphrase was "I am the law," or that's what he said in the movie. You see we have a strategy guide for Street Fighter the movie. Pro reviews for Mortal Kombat 3, Phantom 2040, Earthbound, which I just finished, finally, Fatal Fury 3, and the E3 Expo highlights. Special PlayStation preview, Tekken Crazy Ivan. I think I've heard of Crazy Ivan. It was an early PlayStation game, I believe. Killick, The Blood, and more. Sega Saturn is launched, and it's here. You see Virtual Fighter, Daytona USA, and Panzer Dragoon. And the cool strip at the top, the familiar to GamePro, that lists the systems that they cover. So let's open this up and see what we have. Have an ad for Donkey Kong Land on the Game Boy. This is for the Play It Loud era of the Nintendo marketing. Final Fantasy II ad again. Or I should say, Final Fantasy III ad. 2's company, 3's a crowd. Here's the index. Features Hooray for Hollywood, Acclaim Studios. With motion capture and Blue Screen Studios, Acclaim's new headquarters carry a touch of Hollywood to rural New York. So motion capture during this time was really big in games. PlayStation previews, since the PlayStation was pretty new still. Last issue I covered those new systems coming out, the Saturn, the PlayStation, and the 3DO. Motion capture coincided with those. So you see Killick, The Blood, Twisted Metal, Crazy Ivan, Tekken, and we have the game makers meet the talent behind the titles. This new GamePro series explains how games are made and takes you behind the scenes to meet the people who make them. Pro Strategy Guide, as I said, for Street Fighter the movie. The Fighter's Edge. Fatal Fury 3, Road to the Final Victory. SWAT Pro, Secret Share Weapon Tactics strategy or section, which was always good. Comic Zone ad. A lot of these ads I covered before. Some more, you see 32X, they covered a few games, just 3. Got BC Racers, Shadow Squadron, and Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000. 32X CD, 40 Fahrenheit, Sega CD, we had Panic and Mad Dog 2, The Lost Gold. Genesis, just one Genesis game, Justice League Task Force. Super Nintendo still had a slew of SNES games, the highlights being Phantom 2040, Nosferatu, Hagane, Lemmings 2, Jungle Strike, and Bassmaster Bassmasters Classic. Jaguar, Super Burnout, and Ultra Vortex. Neo Geo, you had some of these. Double Dragon, Final Fight, Fatal Fury 3, Road to the Final Victory. World Players Realm, Earthbound, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 4, Wall of Fire, Super Game Boy, Donkey Kong Land, and Kirby's Dream Land 2. And Game Boy, Cheese Catastrophe, starring Speedy Gonzalez and True Lies. On the letters section, we have some letters here. Here's the letter from the editor. Of the approximately 1,000 letters we get each month, several hundred usually have some comment, question, or complaint about the high cost of video gaming. Still, to this day, people complain about that. We ran a few of these letters last month, and we're running another one in this issue. Typically, gamers are upset about the spiraling cost of current games, up to $100 per game in some cases. And that's not uncommon. It's cartridges during this era because the memory chips could I remember spending about $180, $90 on some of the Square RPGs like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy III, worried about the cost of the next round of systems and software. The major video game companies are worried too. Nintendo, Sega, Atari, and 3DO all know that you have limited funds to spend on systems and games. Mistakes have already been made. Look at 3DO's big blunder when its first system came out at $700. Sluggish sales reluted in a quick price cut to about $400. Atari has also recently announced a price change, lowering its cost of its Jaguar to under $160, game included. As for the software, 2-in-1 deals are now available for many, unheard of 2 years ago. The times, they really are a-changing. Fortunately, some companies appear to be learning from the industry's past mistakes as they shape the future of gaming. Nintendo has made the cost of the Ultra 64 system approximately $250, the Nintendo 64. For those who don't know, the Ultra 64 was the Nintendo 64. A big selling point, but the unit won't be available until summer '96. Its Virtual Boy, on the other hand, may cost $200, a price some gamers may find prohibitive for games in red and black. Unfortunately, Sega and Sony have estimated that their new systems, the Saturn and PlayStation, respectively, may cost as much as $450. Is this figure attractive to anyone? Therefore, this letter from the GamePros isn't really going out to gamers. It's going out to the major video game companies to pass on to them the message. Listen up, you guys. Money matters, and gamers are watching you closely. So here we go into the first one. I heard that CDs are only cost a few dollars to make, so why do Sega CD games cost $50 to $60? Even music CDs are only about $15. His response: everything you say is true. The actual CD itself costs under $1 to make, and the packaging is about $5. It's the disc contents that are expensive. Music CDs are simple. The music company may have to pay only a few musicians plus the engineering staff and marketing costs. This explanation is simplified. But video game companies have enormous production expenses. They're often more than $1 million into developing a single game. Some of the factors that can increase the cost are licensed music, famous songs by famous musicians, new groundbreaking technology for graphics, license from organizations like ProReviews or movie studios, and famous commentators such as John Madden. TV advertising costs are also huge. By comparison, music CDs get lots of free MTV and radio exposure. Remember also that companies are doing all this to make a profit, so they must raise the price even higher. So through the disc, and though the disc and its box costs under $10, all those extra expenses drive up the price, so that sometimes it takes a $60 price tag to turn a profit. Let's see here. After the credits in the Pitfall games, the words "to be continued" appear. Is Activision making a sequel? Probably, but it hasn't been stated yet. Right now, Activision is readying versions of Pitfall for the PlayStation and possibly for the Saturn, which will be released at the end of the year. They must be talking about Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure. Why don't recent hockey games have fights in them like older games? Ever hear the saying, "I went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out"? The NHL wants to clean up its image, so before it gives its licensing approval to a game, it tries to eliminate or limit the fighting games that do include fighting, such as the recent Wayne Gretzky's and the NHLPA All-Stars. Only allow fighting with the same frequency that real games would have fights. Here's one. Will there be a Genesis version of Donkey Kong? Just as Sonic probably won't ever appear on a Nintendo system, it is unlikely to let its biggest games of 1994 come out on any Sega system because Sonic and Donkey Kong are so identified with Sega and Nintendo respectively, they're too important to be licensed to a major rival. The same goes for other key Nintendo figures, like Mario and Luigi, and it's also true for important Sega characters, such as Eco, Toe Jam, and Earl. Do you have Kylie Minogue's address? She played Cammy in the Street Fighter movie. Reach Kylie by writing to her manager at this address. And it lists her, I guess her agent's address in Australia. Have the artwork here. See if I can zoom in on the artwork in this area. I like to shout out because I've gotten some messages about people who have seen the artwork and recognize it. So we have one here at the top. This one from RJ Turnbow of Novato, California. It looks like, I'm not sure what that is. It's the top here. Looks like an RPG of some sort. I'm not sure. This looks like Dragon Quest VIII, but that didn't come out until much later. We have Russ Kumro from Cheektoga, New York. This is the pick of the month. Very anime. This one's really good. I know who these characters are, Donkey and Diddy. The Beast is back. This is from Lucas Heineman of Cochrane, Wisconsin. Very cool, Lucas. David Stoutenberg. Am I saying that? Stoutenberg of Moreno Valley, California. Has a Killer Instinct drawing. Emilio Quezada of Panama. Right here. Not sure what that is. Garrick Dean of Oceanside, California has a Mortal Kombat 2 artwork with Raiden and Baraka here. And we have this cool Jago Kong. Looks like Jago from Killer Instinct and Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong's face on his body. This is from Remo Disconzi Filho of Canaos, Brazil. I'm sorry, I apologize if I'm butchering those names. But some cool artwork there. .3DO M2 technology. So I remember this. For those who don't remember, the 3DO was relatively new, and they announced a add-on for it called the M2. I believe it was an add-on. And here's an ad about it, or a little article about it. What do you get when the next generation game system steps into the next generation 3DO? 3DO gamers are about to find out. The Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn are chumming the gamers' waters for a furious feeding frenzy at Christmases. The 3DO isn't about to tread water, especially since it was the first 32-bit game system back in 1993. 3DO is poised to pump 64-bit muscle into its 32-bit 3DO game system by Panasonic and Goldstar, with the M2 technology upgrades scheduled for a late 1995 release. The M2 will be backwards compatible with existing 3DO systems, and it will arrive in two forms. Current 3DO owners will be able to purchase a dealer installable upgrade card, while first-time timers can opt for a new standalone unit. So that was interesting. You'd have to take it to a dealer if you had the original 3DO and they'd install a card to upgrade it, like a graphics card or something. 3DO won't reveal the look of the M2, but the internals are impressive. The accelerator gets its punch from 10 custom processors built around a custom PowerPC 602 CPU at 66 MHz RISC chip. That's the same digital brain that powers Apple's Power Mac computers. All that silicon propels data through a 64-bit bus with a 528 megabytes per second bandwidth. That's fast. It also means that at optimum performance, the 3DO M2 graphics generating potential reaches mind-boggling levels, including rendering speeds of 100 million pixels per second and 1 million polygons per second. Of course, whether such top-end specs reach our TV screens is up to game programmers, but what potential the M2 hardware already makes it easier for game developers to create snazzy visuals with hard-wired graphics. Tools such as texture mapping, MIP mapping, Goron shading, filtering, and 3D perspective correction. These are techniques for refining the detail you see in complex 3D polygon images. For example, filtering eliminates pixelation in close-up views. The unified memory architecture enables game developers to allocate memory where items which use portions of memory for such tasks as audio. M2 uses something called a unified contiguous memory area, which can be allocated as needed for audio, video, and graphics. So a little bit about that. More hot at the arcades, Mortal Kombat 3. I don't think I might have, I don't know if I played much of this. I might have played a little bit, but Mortal Kombat 2 was one I played. They have a move list already for it. An ad for the 3DO. More moves for Mortal Kombat. Has their finishing moves. Here's the cover feature. Here comes the Judge. Judge Dredd for the Genesis. Pretty average. 3.5 for graphics, 3.0 for sound, 3.05 for controls, 3.5 for fun factor. Super Nintendo, a little bit better in graphics and sound, but that's about it. Stallone deals dreaded justice on the big screen. What would summer be without a new Sylvester Stallone action movie? Talks a little bit about Judge Dredd. Here's Judge Dredd for the Game Boy. Sound got marked down a lot, but for some reason the control and graphics were very high. Hooray for Hollywood. Acclaim Studios. Acclaim's new global headquarters in rural New York merges a Hollywood-style movie studio with state-of-the-art video game production. So this must have been that they have a studio for motion capturing, which mentioned on the cover or in the table of contents. PlayStation preview, we have Crazy Ivan. Crazy Ivan will be a first-person 3D combat blaster. In the year 2086, nasty extraterrestrials have enclosed vast areas of Earth behind nearly impenetrable force fields. The Russians cracked the fields, so they encased bolts for brains soldiers. Ivan, in a 50-ton mech warrior-powered suit, and let him go. Well, that's interesting. I never knew what that game was about. It's like a first-person like combat game. Almost like a mech game. One of those mech games. Be your soldier in a mech suit. Tekken. Never really played much Tekken. Killick the Blood. Ridge Racer. Wipeout. F111. Aardvark. The Agile Warrior. It's like a chopper game. Helicopter game. Some more PlayStation games. Twisted Metal stands out here is the big one. Here you have an ad for, it looks like Earthbound. Warning, use only in a ventilated area. This must be the sticky... So yeah, these are supposed to stink. So if you scratch, here's Mr. Black. Here's the black hair. So I'm going to see if it still smells. So I'll scratch him. Yeah, smells like... I remember that smell from a kid that you get on other stickers. So here's another one. A little bit different. This is supposed to be pizza. Smells like... doesn't really smell like pizza. So this is an interesting ad. Here I still have the coupon for it. $10 off. Expires January 31st, 1996. So here's the ad. As if life didn't stink enough already, now you've got to be prepared for Earthbound, the first role-playing game with BO. Imagine the horror in the aftermath of a terrible meteor strike, or was it an evil alien invasion? Burping, belching, gaseous monsters roam the streets of your hometown. Your only chance to survive and avoid their nasty smells is to learn the powers that can counteract their deadly forces. Luckily, every day that you manage to stay alive, your powers improve as you venture into the neighboring towns. You make some friends, including a girl who has amazing psychic powers, a boy genius capable of repairing anything broken, and a prince from an exotic eastern land. These friends help you take control of your newfound strengths and help you'll need if you thought the dark, creepy dungeons and evil spells of other role-playing games were tough to overcome. Just wait until you have to deal with the heinous stench of monsters roaming the countryside. To make it easier, press the start button. To make it easier to press the start button, a $10 coupon is attached when the game arrives, a free player's guide will be included to help you find your way around town. Inside the guide are 6 ident-a-smell playing cards that give you a brutal whiff of some of the characters, as well as tips about everything from PSI powers to items. But even with all the powers, friends, and tips in the world, it isn't going to be easy. That's because Ness, a mere 13-year-old boy, are the only one who has a fighting chance of finding and defeating Gygas, an interstellar warrior who is out to destroy the entire universe. And to be perfectly honest, the odds are against you. So you see, because this game stinks. So that's the little ad about it. It says, warning, use in a well-ventilated area because this game stinks. So you have, under here you have, the most brutal thing about this guy is his stench. Scratch here if you dare. Yuck, you'll find him in the zombie camp, being the water behind the waterfall. Hey, plug your nose before the fight. Here's one. Find one of the burger joints. Scratch here and breathe deep and scarf some tasty grub. It'll replenish your strength. Don't forget the salt. So here we go. I don't think I scratched this one. Yeah, a little bit different. And we have a nightmare certainly isn't one of the usual stops in a game, nor is it this stink. Scratch here and impress your friends. Scratch here and dive in. You might find something that will help you if you survive the smell. So scratch this one here. Don't scratch here if you're hungry. Call for delivery whenever and wherever you are. Call for delivery wherever and whenever you're feeling tired. Just passing through, this 128-page player's guide, free with every game, will prove a strong ally as it helps you find your way around town. So that's an interesting ad. Just had to read a little bit about that because I recently beat Earthbound. So Earthbound, it's like living inside your gym shoes. So we have Street Fighter the movie, Johnny Mnemonic, Zeitgeist. More PlayStation games in development. You have a big list here. Some of the big ones are, you got, let me see, Castlevania, Road Rash, Ridge Racer, Shockwave, Wing Commander 3, X-Men, Zoop, Mortal Kombat 3, Biohazard, Alien Trilogy, PlayStation Spotting 47 Tech. An innovative young company in San Francisco is working on Team 47 Goemon, a dazzling true 3D mech game for the PlayStation. 24 hours is the best we can do. Sega Channel ad. Here's some more on that company. The Game Makers, meet the talent behind the titles. Learning the ropes of Digipen, one of the first video game schools. I wonder if that's still around. There's a picture of Samus in the back there. Ed Boon sprays down actor Hung So Pak to make him glisten for the camera. Pak portrayed Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 2. Here's a Sega 32X CD game. You had to have the 32X and the Sega CD to play Fahrenheit. Got okay reviews, 4.5 for sound, graphics, and fun factor. Controls are 3.0. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. The only Genesis game this month, Justice League Task Force. 4.0 for graphics, 4.0 for sound, 3.0 for control and fun factor. X-Band modem ad. Phantom 2040 for the Super Nintendo. Got really good reviews, 4.5 for graphics and sound. And look at the fun factor and controls, 5.0. Nosferatu for the Super Nintendo. Looney Tunes B-Ball. Hagane for the Super Nintendo. Justice League Task Force for the Super Nintendo. Lemmings 2 The Tribes. Power Instinct, Rise of the Robots, the Itchy and Scratchy game. Wow, 1.5 for Control for Itchy and Scratchy game. Had to point that out. Jungle Strike. I haven't played any of the Strike games. I think there was Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, and City Strike, Urban Strike. Fatal Fury 3 Road to the Final Victory for the Neo Geo. Double Dragon for the Neo Geo. Looks like a fighting game. Didn't get good reviews. Role Player's Realm. Earthbound. Now, this has gone on to be a very cultural, popular game. I just want to point out, I'll go in a little bit here on what they gave it here. So, although Earthbound has all the classic RPG elements, extensive conversations, puzzle solving, side quests, weapons, and power-ups, it has a very childlike interface. If Dungeons and Dragons are more to your taste, pass up this kids menu. So they gave 2.0 for graphics, which, sure, it's not great looking, but it's not bad. I'd say it's at least a 4. But I could see where they're coming from. This was during the time of, graphics being more 3D and more higher quality pixel art. 4.0 for sound, 4.0 for controls, and 3.5 for fun factor. So here's the final blurb on it. Earthbound can be amusing if you know where to look for the funny parts. Otherwise, the humor is too mature for little kids, and the gameplay is too immature for older gamers. This one is bound to fall to earth sometime soon. So overall, they were kind of lukewarm on it. So a lot of people love it. There are people who don't like it as much, but the people who love it to death, and the people who don't like it just don't like it. So it's kind of a divisive game. Very popular, though. Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Wall of Fire. Three Kingdoms 4, Wall of Fire. Donkey Kong Land for the Game Boy. Kirby's Dream Land 2 got really good reviews. Kirby's back, and not in a puzzler or golf game. Dreamland 2 the golf game they're referring to is Kirby's Dream Course. Fun game. Kirby's Dreamland 2 reprises the classic formula of the original Kirby games. If you don't already love the Curbster, you will once you play this great game. Beyond by the Super Game Boy's colorful palette, the graphics are sharp, but shouldn't we expect more in 1995 that we did in 1993? The backgrounds are still pretty empty, and characters isn't as impressive as inventing new ones. The sounds are also extremely familiar. The peppy music's good, but every character is still mute. If you've been waiting for a more easygoing, easy-to-beat Kirby charm, your wait is over. While not everything is new in Dreamland 2, everything is definitely fun. And that's the best you can say about a game. It's fun. It's the number one thing I look for a game. Is it fun to play? Never heard of Cheese Catastrophe, Speedy Gonzales, starring Speedy Gonzales, for the Game Gear. Overall, average game. Lunar Eternal Blue, working designs. Very popular company that would localize popular games from Japan over here. Street Fighter the Movie game. Here's something interesting. New MTV cards from Fleer. Fresh tasting and everything but wholesome. Beavis and Butthead. The Max, I remember that. The Head, I remember the Head. I have a soft spot. I like the Street Fighter movie. I haven't played the movie. It's from what I hear, it's basically Street Fighter 2 with motion captured movie actors based on the movie. Blade. Who's Blade? I remember Blade. SWAT Pro. The Need for Speed, blow up surrounding traffic. The 3DO. The only Need for Speed I ever played was the 3DO version, and I loved it. My friend had it. It had live music, like video, like CD quality music and full motion video, cutscenes and stuff. Very fun game. NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Quarantine. Here's some cool art right here of Street Fighter characters. Street Fighter's reaction to the movie. This is from Dina Natal from Sacramento, California. Road Rash 3 on the Genesis. Here's another cool artwork from Jessica Osborne of Phoenix, Arizona. Still don't know. Oh, this is Rama 1/2, which I've never watched. But it did have a fighting game on the Super Nintendo. Maybe that's what she's referencing. Samurai Showdown 2. Power Instinct for the SNES. Some sort of ad for the X-Band. Some contest for the X-Band you can enter there. Here's some cool artwork here. This is from Jesse Shaw of Guthrie, Kentucky. More fighting game strategies for Fatal Fury 3, the road to the final victory. Atari Jaguar cut its price, as we mentioned in this previous section, to $159.99. Still did not save it. Maybe they should have went lower, developed more games, but still don't have a Jaguar. I'd like to get one sometime, because it has a few good games, I think. GamePro Labs. Pad Soldier for the 3DO. 8-button control pad. for the 3DO, which maybe it should have had 6 face buttons to begin with on the 3DO. I never understood how the 3DO only had 3 buttons, face buttons on it. Brain Dead 13. I have a Sega Menacer with the 6-game cartridge and T2 the arcade game. I haven't seen any other Menacer compatible games. Has Sega given up on the Menacer? They answer, Sega has no current plans for Menacer games in the 1995 season. However, there may be a Menacer game available in 1996. Here's a question. I played Doom on the 32X. Up to the 15th level, and at the end of that level, this message, See Doom, appeared at the bottom of the screen. I waited to see what would happen, and tried pushing all the buttons. What does the message mean, and why don't I get a response from the control pad? Answer. If you use any of the cheats, such as God Mode, Unlimited Weapons, or Unlimited Lives from the various magazines, then you will not be able to see the game's true ending. You must play a regular game and blast your way to the end, or you'll receive the Doom over symbol C. Huh, I didn't know that. Here's one. I got Sonic and Knuckles for Christmas. It said on the back of the game box that the cart could lock on with Sonic 2 and 3, but with no other games. Later I discovered the game could also lock on with Sonic 1. Why doesn't the box mention this anywhere? They answer, Sonic and Knuckles can be locked onto any game. You can see the special 3D bonus level with any Genesis part locked on. But for enhanced levels, the game only works with Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. Overseas Prospects X, Europe's Electronic Entertainment Showcase. Not sure that stuck around. Never heard of it. Is that an expo or a game? This European Computer Trade Show, ECTS. Okay. Virtual highlight. Alien Soldier for the Mega Drive. We never did get that game here. I've heard it's good. The Ooze. Here's Earthbound for $62 for the, and all the ones came with that big box with the strategy guide. So it's funny, they list the game here, but they have the description for a wrong game under it. For Earthbound, they say, the description, they say, enter a prehistoric world where dinosaurs rule, fight fearsome beasts with fantastic weapons, and travel around the world in search of adventure in this RPG. They kind of got the description a little wrong there. Killer Instinct for the Super Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest for the Super Nintendo, Earthworm Jim 2, Vector Man. So, that's some good games there. Panzer Dragoon, Daytona USA. And this is interesting. Looks like I cut out this iron-on. This is a t-shirt iron-on. You put it on the shirt, you iron it on the shirt, and it sticks. This auto-tied you over until you're ready for the tattoo. Your very own iron-on. Wear it proudly on your chest as to say your look here. I'm immensely fond of Snapple beverages. Oh, I remember putting this on it. I had a white t-shirt with Snapple on it. I remember that. And I never even drank Snapple, but I think I just wanted to try it. This is an ad for Snapple with an iron-on t-shirt sticker. I remember that shirt now. Robotech for the Ultra 64 and 64. Shockwave for the Saturn. Phantom 2040 for the Genesis. You saw it was reviewed in this month's issue for the Super Nintendo. The Genesis one came after, and it's pretty good too, I think, if I recall. The 11th Hour sequel to the 7th Guest for PC. You don't know Jack. These games are still coming out today in 2017. Ugly Kid Joe, I remember that band. This is an ad at Tower Records to buy their record. Ad for Tower Records to buy their record at Tower Records. Or CD, I should say. Heart of Darkness. I believe this was the sequel to Out of This World. Primal Rage ad. Saturn Rises First. PlayStation to cost only $299. Saturn has arrived, leapfrogging over the Ultra 64 and PlayStation by appearing in Toys R Us, Electronics Boutique, Babbage's, and Software Etc. stores in May, months ahead of its expected release date in September. Tom Kalinske, president of Sega of America, made a surprise announcement about the Saturn's release at the Electronic Entertainment Expo, E3, on May 11th. Within days of the announcement, 30,000 Sega units appeared in store shelves nationwide with price tags ranging from $3.99 to $4.99. So, I remember this. I don't remember it at the time, but recently I was pointed out a few years ago about this. You can find video online on YouTube or wherever if you Google or search for E3 Sega Saturn announcement, where they just came out and announced it there, shadow dropped it, or it was available in stores now. And I believe Tom Kalinske was against that at the time. Parade of the Alliances. Leading off a long list of recent industry alliances, Nintendo has spent more than $25 million to sign an exclusive deal with the England-based software house Rare. The arrangement, which nets Nintendo a 25% share of Rare, means that Rare will develop games solely for the SNES, Ultra 64, Game Boy, and Virtual Boy for the next several years. We're excited about this alliance because it means more great blockbuster games from Nintendo and Rare. The caliber of Donkey Kong Country, said Perrin Kaplan at Nintendo. Spokesperson, the first title to emerge from this relationship will be a sequel to Donkey Kong Country featuring Diddy Kong. We have another title in the works for 1995, Kaplan told GamePro, but we can't share its name. But both games will use the advanced computer modeling that appears in Donkey Kong, and we will continue to enhance and improve that technology for use in the Diddy games and other 16-bit games. Rare is also working on a game based on GoldenEye, the upcoming James Bond flick, and will port Killer Instinct to the Ultra 64. So that's a cool little bit to hear. And knowing now in hindsight what turned out from that merger, they made games for a few years, around 2000 or so. In the 2000s, got bought by Microsoft, and GoldenEye ended up being delayed. Came out 2 years or so after the movie. Nintendo and Samsung Electronics have stepped out of the ring and declared a truce in their lawsuit over copyright and trademark violations. Nintendo originally accused Samsung of contributing ROM chips to counterfeit Donkey Kong Country cartridges. Samsung denied the allegations, and retailers with a countersuit with that charged Nintendo with defamation. A part of the settlement, Nintendo acknowledged that Samsung was not the source of the software used in the patent games, and that Samsung included Nintendo in and Samsung included Nintendo in its screening process, which detects counterfeit software. Time is running out to enter this year's Blockbuster World Video Game Championships. 2. Registration through June 25th at more than 3,000 Blockbuster stores in North America, Australia, and South America. In-stores competitions will be placed through July 9th in 2 age categories, 12 and under, 13 and over, in both a Genesis and SNES division. Players will compete on cartridges like Judge Dredd, Donkey Kong Country, and NBA Jam Tournament Edition. And winners at each store will score a card worth a year's free games rentals at Blockbuster in August 11th. Highest scores from around the world will descend on San Francisco to compete in the finals, which are sponsored by GamePro. The grand prize, a $5,000 scholarship for both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo champs. So $5,000 is hardly a drop in the bucket for tuition nowadays. So they should have just gave them games and systems. There's an ad for that World Championship. And we come to the end of GamePro issue 72 from July 1995. It's a long one, going on in about 52 minutes here, so thanks for staying with me if you did stay with me. I keep wanting to cut these down in length, but I keep finding interesting things. I do hope that you'll find at least something that's interesting to you. So until I see you again for the next issue of GamePro, which will be GamePro number 73 from August of 1995. So I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.